In this video, we work on the homework 7 part 2. Homework 7 is related to chapter 7, the cost of the production. So you will know this chapter is focusing on the cost. The first question is related to different costs. Before we start to do the calculation, I want to mention several of the relationship among different costs. So the first cost we learn is the total cost. So we use TC as a short form for total cost. So the total cost comes from two resources. One is the fixed cost, FC, such as the factory and some machines. And beyond the fixed cost, we have variable costs, such as the labor and some materials. They were counted as a variable cost. So these three costs are linked by this equation. And the next cost we learned is the average total cost. So the average total cost equal to the total cost divided by the output. And the next cost is called average fixed cost. Average fixed cost equal to the fixed cost divided by total output. And the next cost is called average variable cost. Is equal to the variable cost divided by output. So this is the first concept we need to know. The second concept, what is fixed cost? The fixed cost is when even you don't produce, you still have the cost. So which means the cost when output equal to 0. So which means you produce nothing, but you still need to pay the money to cover some costs, like the rent, the machine. So those are the fixed costs. So now understanding the relationship among different costs, we can look at this question. So this question, the first column is our total output, and the second column is the total cost. The third column is average fixed cost. The fourth column is average variable cost. So which means if we know the output and we know the total cost, and it asks for the average fixed cost and average variable cost. So how can we get average fixed cost? Now, according to the definition of a fixed cost, which means the cost when you have 0 output. So we need to look at when the output equal to 0, what will be the total cost. So when the output equal to 0, the total cost is $800, which telling us the $800 is our fixed cost. So the fixed cost will not change, even your output change. So when we increase the total output total output equal to 1, and we find the total cost increased to 1,000. So which means the total cost equal to 1,000 and the fixed cost equal to $800. It never changed. So we can find the difference between total cost and the fixed cost is 200, which is our variable cost equal to 1,000 minus 800. So we have 200. So we know the variable cost is 200 when we have one output. So now in order to get average fixed cost, we look at this formula. We use fixed cost divided by output. So we know the output equal to 1 and fixed cost equal to 800. So the first blank will be filled by 800. How about the average variable cost when output is 1? So when output is 1 and we find variable cost is 200. So the 200 divided by 1 and we got 200. How about the next one? So when we have two outputs, the total output is 1,250. So instead of 1,000, and now we have the total cost equal to 1,250, and the fixed cost still 800. So in order to get variable cost, we use 1,250 minus 800, and we will get $450. So that is our new variable cost. But in order to get the average fixed cost, we will use this formula. So the fixed cost is 800. Since for this blank is corresponding to 2 output, so divide by 2 and we get $400. That is our average fixed cost. How about average variable cost? So we've already calculated the total variable cost is $450, and divide by total output, which is here 2, and we got 225. So now you can fill in the blank. So here is 400 and 225. So you can use the similar method to finish calculating the rest of the blanks. So now let's move on to the second question. Compare following cost schedule by computing average total cost and marginal cost. So we know how to calculate average total cost, but how about the marginal cost? So the marginal cost, based on the formula on the textbook, we know the marginal cost equal to the cost, the total cost, the change of the total cost divided by the change of output. So which means if given certain output we have, if we increase one more output, what will be the change for the total cost? So now let's look at the first blank. So when the output is 0, the total cost is 800. When the output increase 1, the total cost increased to 1000. So the change of increasing one more unit is 1000 minus 800. So we got 200. So the marginal cost for one output is the first output is 200. How about the second output? So when the production increases to 2, the total cost become like 1250. And what's the change from one output to 2 output? So you will use, in order you use 1250 minus 1000. So you got $250 is the marginal cost. And the average total cost we just mentioned. So the average total cost equal to the total cost divided by the output. So when we have one output, so the total output is 1, and total cost is 1000. So here is 1000. So when we move to we increase to 2 output, so the total cost is 1250. So you would just use 102,250 divided by 2, and you got 625. So this is second blank. So you use the same method to finish the rest of the formula for blanks, but you will figure out the average total cost for the last two cell of the average total cost. You will get 500 and 500. However, the third question asks you what output rate is the average total cost minimized, and you will find these two numbers is the smallest average total cost. They are corresponding to 4 units and 5 units. However, which output rate should we choose? So look at here. It asks for use higher rates, so you will choose 5 units.